Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, we are going to be doing our bracket predictions for Major 2, the Minnesota Rocker Tournament. Going to be a little bit different of an episode for the bracket predictions today because we're in a bit of a time crunch. I'm headed to the Major on Wednesday, so we have a lot less time to actually record, get everything all pieced together and uploaded on the audio platforms and video as well. So a little bit more of a time crunch. The CDL, of course, hasn't put out the pick'em on their site, so we don't have the interactive bracket to do. So just going to be doing predictions a little different. Going to pick all the round one matches, winners and elimination side, and then maybe say our top three and our tournament winner, as well as some bold predictions for the tournament. So not the normal episode, but still going to offer up our predictions for the weekend. You guys are going to hear who both Kyle and I are picking to win it all. But before we get into that, Kyle, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. We got like I said, I think like last time, the weather's getting warmer. We have sports returning. The Masters is a few weeks away.
Mm-hmm.
We have a major land this weekend, which is this coming weekend, which is a massive boost for my morale. Finally getting this land again, with all these new
Yeah.
teams. So I'm really excited to dive into today's episode.
It also feels kind of right that, we've got Crim6 back in the side of maybe not full on contender, but actually back in like the side of the bracket where you're like, wow, maybe they actually are going to win a match, not just like writing them off right away. Because the one tournament that we had where Crim was completely written off as even being like a contender to win a match or two was not fun. So I'm glad to see NYSL not in the complete struggle boat. Like we don't really have. I mean, I guess Ultra and Rocker, even Legion, I guess really Thieves, who are 0-5, are still like struggling, all those losers bracket teams, but they don't feel as dead as NYSL did. Maybe Thieves does, but they don't feel as dead as NYSL did in that first major. But before we dive into predictions, if you guys enjoy this one on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and drop a review or a follow on the audio platforms. We've been seeing some great growth on there, some new listeners dropping in, as well as old ones continuing to return and keeping the conversation going on the CDL. So we appreciate all you guys. Kyle, you ready to dive into this bracket and get going?
Let's dive in head first, man.
All right. So feels a little weird because in the top portion of the bracket, right in the top in the one seed, we've got OpTic. They're playing Surge again, which is how they started the last major. And if you actually look at their run, let's say they are to make a run, they could potentially play Surge. Obviously, they play them right away. Then potentially Faze in the second round. And then maybe the team they're looking most likely to play in winners finals would be your Royal Ravens. So an exact copy of their run potentially shaping out here at the second major. I would say odds are it probably won't work out that way. Something crazy will happen, but like I'd say the favorite to make it out of that bottom four in the winners bracket is probably Ravens, and the favorite right now to make it out of that top four is OpTic. So it's looking like we might have like almost a little mini repeat uh, of Major One, but we're gonna start out right on top. We got OpTic versus Surge, the 1 versus 8 matchup. Kind of feels almost as lopsided maybe as the first time we saw the 1v8, which was last major Faze versus Breach, before the Breach really had found their form. What are you thinking here? Is there any way you can see Surge coming out and upsetting OpTic?
No, I think this is honestly gonna be like a 3-0. Um,
I kind
you
of
know,
agree.
OpTic just look dominant. When's the last time they even lost a map? Probably last weekend, maybe. Did they lose a map? I don't
I
know.
think they lost one map last weekend, maybe.
Um, but
No, I
yeah,
think they're on a 9 map win streak, so it had to be 2 weeks ago.
yeah, they're really on almost an unprecedented run of form. And it seems like they haven't lost a step. They haven't slacked off since winning Major One.
Yeah,
And here we are again at LAN. Probably going to be a very favorable OpTic crowd as well. In addition to Minnesota faithful.
yeah.
But I mean, OpTic are not going to lose this match. So I would probably go bold and say it could easily be a 3-0.
I would agree. I'd say 3-0 or 3-1 at the most. I wouldn't be comfortable going 3-2 in this series. It's hard to say, like, hard to write off Surge because they do have so much talent, like, hard to write them off to not win a map, but yeah, I would be saying you're pretty crazy if you pick them, although they just keep throwing accuracy at OpTic in the first round of both majors now, like, waiting for him to make that magic happen again, uh, and take out OpTic. I'd agree, though, and I was looking a little bit at the map, for both teams that they prefer to play, and it's also not too good for Surge that it seems like they prefer a lot of the same maps. Uh, their two most played maps in Hardpoint are Bocage and Tuscan, and those are OpTic's two best Hardpoint maps. OpTic's also pretty decent at Gavutu, and Seattle's 0-5 on that, so they're probably going to square up on OpTic's two best Hardpoint maps. The Search and Destroy, both teams are right around 12-8, 11-9 in record, and they also both play Berlin and Tuscan the most. And then OpTic is obviously 14-1 in Control, and they're 10-1 on Tuscan, and Seattle also prefers Tuscan. So doesn't seem like a favorable matchup for Seattle because everything that they prefer, OpTic also prefers. And I think if we're playing each other's best maps, I think everybody probably leaning towards OpTic, right? So I'd also probably go OpTic in a 3-0. Also, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get to really see OpTic's form because they played against two substitutes this week. Gunless, I guess, was sick the day of the match and just like didn't feel like he could play, so Spart subbed in. And then today, we're recording this actually still on Sunday night. OpTic played against Faze, and Simp was out, and Pristini subbed in. So, like, what the heck? We didn't even get to see. Like, OpTic did go 6-0 map count this weekend, but it was a little bit weird because they were just playing against last-minute subs, which obviously is an extremely tough task for somebody to sub in against the best team in the league without notice. So, that's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. But
I mean, on that too, not to get bogged down, but with not having a buffer week in between major or between week 3 and the major, and obviously like the stringency of, you would imagine Minnesota will be pretty stringent with, you know, COVID and just overall sickness policy, with
Mhm.
being allowed. I mean, I guess we don't want to really assume anything, but just something to keep your eye on if, especially all these players in week 3 getting, mysteriously ill. Um, you would just hope that none of the starting rosters are affected.
Yeah, you don't, and like so many of the players are sick. Like I know Nero was also sick in their match today. Like so many of all these players are getting sick, and like you said, like I don't want to see Simp miss the major and have somebody like subliners take them out when if Simp's playing they probably win. I don't want to see Nero all of a sudden not be able to attend. Like we don't want to see any team win or lose because of a sickness like that. That's not fun. And also, like as a spectator, like when I'm there, I don't want to like show up on match day and it's Faze, OpTic, and Scump and Simp are both sitting. Like, well, I don't want to watch that. Who are we? We're having General come in and use a sub or something. But I really hope people are able to get healthy. And like you said, I'm sure they're gonna have pretty strict policies at the major. I'm pretty sure they have like a mask policy at the major, so trying to keep everybody away from the players. I also don't think like any of the players are allowed to go into the crowd or talk to fans like they normally would at an event, just to try to keep the spread of COVID or any sickness really from getting to the players, so they're unable to play in the matches. Because obviously, that situation were to come up where they test positive for COVID, I'm pretty sure they have to have all their extra subs like in Minnesota just in case. Like General has to sprint over to the stage, but I mean every team's sub should be there because of the Challengers event, which is also going to make it interesting because it's going to be even more packed. Uh, the huge Challengers event going on the side. But you ready to move on to Faze subliners? All right, so we had a little, I think, internet drop on Kyle's end, so we're gonna jump right back in at the L and Phase match. So if you hear a weird cut in the audio, that's why we're having some internet issues over here. But we got subliners Phase in the second round. Kyle, where are you thinking? This is a match I did not expect to be predicting a couple weeks ago. I didn't think we'd be seeing subliners and Phase play in the first round.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate actually for subliners that they happen to be going up against, the machine of Phase. Um, you know, playing well enough to get into winners.
And getting a decent seed, 4 seed, like that's not bad.
Yeah, but I mean, you would almost wish them to be playing against like gorillas or somebody and, have somewhat of a chance. But, you kind of gotta think that, it is Phase. And, even though they've been on a decent run of form, that yeah, it might not be good enough to upend Phase in round 1. So I don't know. I'm kind of leaning Phase here. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't know what you're thinking.
I'm definitely leaning Phase as well, although I'm a little sad about it because once Subliners won and were able to get into winners bracket, I was like really wanting to like pick them to go on a run or see them go on a run or something. And then I see their bracket. Like if they are somehow in winners finals, it will be one of the most miraculous runs because they have to beat Phase and then likely OpTic. And in that match against OpTic, if they were in that, OpTic is playing for the longest match win streak in CDL history. So like they'd be going up against Faze, who are like the dominant team that we all know, and then they'd be going up against the hottest team literally in CDL history in OpTic if they were to play them in winners round 2. So it seems like this is just like the story of the subliners year. Something is finally going right for them, and then they get just hit with the toughest draw of a bracket. And then if they happen to lose here, they go down to play Thieves, who look absolutely horrendous right now. But Thieves do have the talent. Like I would say, I'd probably rather play like a Paris than them right now. Like Thieves are not the worst team in losers talent wise, so kind of a tough draw for subliners. But I'd agree. I actually don't think this is going to be a 3-0, though. I actually think subliners are going to be able to make this pretty competitive. I think this is going to be a map 4 or map 5. I'd probably lean 3-1, but I wouldn't be shocked to see this one go to a map 5. Especially because
Yeah,
Faze is, they're a little bit cold. Maybe Simp didn't play this past weekend. They're going to get some more practice in, but maybe, practice might be a little shaky if Simp is feeling like super crappy. So you never know.
yeah, exactly. So, really tough to see, tough to predict, I should say. I would probably lean like a 3-1-ish to Phase.
Hmm.
It just, maybe New York does come out and really surprise, um, as far as, being able to go toe to toe with Phase, but I would be leaning towards Phase in a 3-1 myself.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I also do think that they have somewhat of an advantage this tournament. It's unfortunate they have to play Faze, who it won't really matter against because Faze, their map pool is so wide and they're pretty much good at any map you throw them on, besides maybe a few. So it's like kind of unfortunate for subliners in that sense, but I feel like that's one advantage they do have coming into this major is they still have so little experience with this roster that it's kind of tough to veto against them. Like teams are more set on just vetoing their worst maps just by default against subliners because they don't really know what subliners' best maps are. So it's hard to play the strategy game that Aches always likes to talk about, where you veto out maybe the other team's best maps to play on more neutral maps if you're the worst team and just like take your shot at it. Where with subliners, like they seem to be a pretty good Bocage team as we've seen. They seem to be okay on Berlin with this new roster in terms of hardpoint. But we have like really not much data on them in control or search and destroy because like they haven't been to a map 5 with this new roster, so they've only played like what 2 or 3 matches of search or 2 or 3 maps of search. So like we haven't even seen them on some of the maps, some of the hardpoint maps we haven't even seen them on. Like it's tough to predict where they're going to be. I'm still leaning Face here, but this is definitely a more interesting match than you would have thought it would be. Like you'd have thought this may have been a 1 versus 8 matchup because of how bad subliners had looked, but they crawled all the way up to the 4th seed. And something big there is the fact that they are the 4th seed. They do get to pick the control map, and FaZe has really, really, really struggled on Gavutu control. So maybe subliners get a little bit of an edge there, but I'm definitely one fashion.
Yeah, it'd be really shocking. Want to say that, I don't know. But I would say probably a 3-1 at best for the Mutineers to be able to take maybe one map, but I would say Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, it's super hard to not say any series with Florida in it is going to be anything but a 3 or 4 game series, like I said, because like even if you go back to like all their major 1 qualifiers and everything, like just looking here, it looks like they've only had 1 match in the qualifiers versus Thieves where they lost to map 5, and then major 1 their match against Boston. They lost to map 5. Otherwise, all their other like 10, 11 matches were all 3 or 4 game series. Like they don't go to map 5s. I don't really know. Like map wise, we could probably expect Bocage to be gone too because like London doesn't play that map. It's by far their least played hardpoint map, and we know how much Florida tends to favor that map. So it's going to be tough for Florida because they're going to be playing some hardpoint map that they almost never play. And then I definitely think the search and destroy is a complete toss up because both these teams are really not great search and destroy teams. They both have a losing record. So I feel like this is a series that might come down to that second S&D because both teams are kind of shaky. So whoever wins that is going to have a serious momentum build. But I'm definitely leaning London in a 3-0, 3-1 fashion. I don't think this series will go the distance. London gets a good draw here. I feel like they have a decent track to at least make it to the winners final since they can avoid both Faze and OpTic. But on the bottom side of this bracket, we've got Breach, Gorillas. Breach were fighting for the 1 seed going into Sunday. Didn't think we'd see that. They're the 2 seed for this major, playing against the 7 seed Gorillas. Just like last major, I feel like the Gorillas are in the hardest match to predict in the first round of winners. I feel like that London versus Gorillas was like the one that everybody had a toss up on before we really knew if London were the real deal going into the last major. Obviously, we discovered they were, and they were able to win it. But I feel like that was the series that everybody was picking an upset in. I also feel like this one is tight, and I just always find myself picking against Boston, which clearly isn't a smart thing to do because they were 4-1 in this split of qualifying matches. But I almost kind of want to find myself picking against them again. This is, in my opinion, the tightest match of the first round. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I tightest match of the winners round
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
I really like Boston here. I'll be honest. I think Zinni's riding a high.
yeah.
He's in a he's found himself a lady friend. Um, I mean, dude, he's been putting up number. He put up numbers this
He's
weekend.
been this entire like major.
This
You can
this
make an argument
stage,
he's been the best they are.
he's been
Yeah.
frying kinda. And Nero and Tej and Cap are playing the accompanying instruments to almost perfection. They went
Hmm.
4-1. I mean, they're looking really good. I think I've got to pick them here. I'll take it going to a game 5 though. I think Breach historically play a lot of long series. Just kind of, if memory serves correctly, they do go to a lot of 4s and 5s. And I think Gorillas will put up a fight. Gorillas, pride themselves probably on being a better land team than anything. Or
Yeah.
at least they think of themselves as being a better land team. So I would lean, but I just got to give it to I just like Breach more right now.
They're definitely the more reliable pick here. They've been the more steady team.
Yeah. So I mean I'll go ahead and say Breach in a 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's definitely the better pick because they've been so steady. I was looking after you said they don't seem like they get 3-0'd or 3-0 teams often. You're definitely right. In terms of all the major one qualifiers, no 3-0s. They lost 3-0 to Faze at the major, but then didn't have another 3-0 the entire tournament. And then they 3-0 to Minnesota and Florida on the good side of the 3-0 in the qualifiers here. So yeah, really, they haven't had like any 3-0s. 3 out of their like 12, 13 matches this year have been a 3-0 either way. So yeah, they don't have 3-0s happen very often. One thing I think is interesting in this match, which would make me feel more confident in LAG, is if they were a better control team. Because Boston, I mean, kind of just flat out sucks at control. They're one of the worst control teams. The record here says 4-10. I believe they're now 5-10 after their win today. And this was the first match that they had played with the tick update. And control actually like going to defense round 5 based on ticks, and like you can actually like play for a point. Like if you're down 5 lives, you can actually still play and not just turtle up in your base. And they looked a lot better. They 3-1 to Toronto on a Tuscan control today. So they're 5-10 in control. Gorillas are sitting at 5-9 now after today, I believe. So they both kind of suck in control. I would say if one of the teams had a clear advantage in that, I would feel more confident in whatever team that was, just because like we know how much of a swing mode that can be. And I wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but like this series feels like it's bound to wind up like 1-1 heading to map 3 and making control swing mode because I just think it's going to be a close series. And there's no clear advantage team in that control. I want to say I would maybe lean hardpoint towards the side of LAG, but Boston has been so hot in hardpoint this stage, and they're overall 16-9 in hardpoint, which feels weird because it seems like they started so much slower in hardpoint to start the year. So like just looking through the stats, Boston are the clear favorite. I'm gonna agree with you, but I'm also gonna go Mat 5. I kind of wanted to pick LAG, but like it just seems like Boston has the clear advantage in hardpoint, the clear advantage in search and destroy, and it's kind of a toss up in control. So when you phrase it like that, it's like, you know, Boston should be the team to beat. And, they could easily have been 5-0 in qualifiers and could have been the 1 seed. So I'm gonna ride with Boston like I never do. So this will probably come back to bite me, but I'm gonna agree with you and say Boston 3-2. Also, unfortunate for Gorillas, we didn't get to actually see what they could do against the likes of OpTic, uh, because Gunless was out this weekend and didn't play, so they just had to have Spart fill in last minute. But uh, I don't know. I'm agreeing with you and going with Breach, so we can jump into losers if you want to.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So actually, we don't even have to like pretend like we have the same team in there. We actually picked all the same teams to win in that top part of the bracket. But we have Surge losing to OpTic, so that would drop them down to play Minnesota in their home major, starting in losers. Uh, and they play the loser of OpTic Surge, like I said. So we have them playing against Surge. Who you got? You picking your boys in Minnesota to advance, or are they going to get first rounded in their own major?
My confidence in Minnesota is diminishing every week.
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of chronicled their struggles this year, and now it looks like they're kind of struggling in search now, or they're kind of dropping searches. Um, I don't know. I think they're gonna get first rounded. I'm not happy about saying that. I think that Surge just have I mean, they have the clear advantage in respawn in my eyes. I think that the duo of Civ and Pred is just, like the young phenoms, is gonna be a little bit overwhelming for Minnesota, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
uh it it pains me to say it because it's their own home major, and B, because they are one of my favorite teams in the league. But I think that they're really struggling in this title. I feel like
Yeah.
maybe if we had Cold War year two or something, they would be right up there. But unfortunately, the game title changed, and their ability to win matches at a consistent clip did not carry over. So unfortunate for them. They're gonna probably I think they're gonna bow out here, but I'd like to see them win. But in terms of our predictions, I'm gonna say that Seattle take this.
Yeah, it's gonna be super unfortunate if they do lose. Thankfully, they at least make it to Friday because I'm pretty sure those losers matches uh, do happen on Friday. I think it's just Thursday is all the winners round one, so at least they'll make it to Friday, and there'll be probably more fans in the stadium on Friday than Thursday, I'd assume. Uh, so I guess that's a positive, but I really want to see them win because I think if they win, they automatically move on to Saturday. I don't think they have two matches that first day, and I'd like them to make it to the weekend on their own major because there will be a lot of Minnesota fans. Like we see all these watch parties that they have in Minneapolis and wherever in Minnesota, and like there are a lot of people that show up in rocker gear and are getting hyped for the matches, which I always love to see those videos. So I'm actually thinking that it's going to be a pretty good turnout for the rocker and their fans at the event. So it'd be kind of a shame to see them get uh, beat in the first round and eliminated without winning a match. I kind of think that this is just an absolute crapshoot of a match. You kind of hinted at that as well, but like I don't have confidence at all in Seattle or Minnesota. And like usually what I lean on is like, yeah, I think Seattle's probably the hard point team here because Minnesota's been so bad, but Minnesota's got that search and destroy in their back pocket. But like you mentioned, even recently, like they've been tough to have confidence in search and destroy. Like even that's looked shaky. So normally what you lean on for them, this would be like a game five written all over it because you've got Seattle, who's definitely got the respawn advantage, and Minnesota, who's definitely got the search advantage. But I don't even know if that's true anymore. Uh, like when we go to the side of Minnesota, they're 10-8 in search and destroy, and we figure that they would be a team that would be up there amongst probably the best records in search and destroy. So I don't know where to go with this one. I'm going to say that Minnesota's going to ride the high of being at home, have a loud crowd on their side, and at least get one match into the belt just because I kind of want to deny and refuse to believe that they're actually going to just drop out uh, right away at their own major. I'm going to pick them in a Mat 5, maybe a reverse sweep because that's what they always do. Uh, but I'm going to pick them in a Mat 5 because I honestly think this is an absolute crapshoot. And I think whatever team wins this match is going to lose in the next round anyways to NYSL. in that round 2 of the losers bracket. So I'm picking Minnesota because I want to refuse to believe that they're going to lose, but it's a crapshoot. I'll say 3-2 though, in a reverse sweep because why not? Oh, all right. Now that we're through that roller coaster of emotions, we got who? NYSL versus Thieves next. This sounds like a losers bracket match if it's old NYSL versus new Thieves. I mean, new Thieves are kind of like the new or the old NYSL when they're 0-5 in that first stage. But where are you
Yeah,
leaning here? NYSL Thieves. I mean, I feel like you got a rant in you about Thieves because they're kind of your other team with your boy Octane and Draza on that team.
yeah. I mean, who would have thought that? After Thieves, they made it to Sunday, right? At the
Um,
last major, didn't they?
they lost to
Oh,
Faze, but I think that was Saturday night.
okay, okay. Yeah, that was the match that went till like 1 a.m. But yeah. Okay, thanks
Yeah,
for jogging my memory there. Yeah, but I mean, I mean, man, what a fall from grace, or from
we
appearing
picked them to
to.
win the last major.
Yeah, we did, and so did a lot of other well acclaimed people in the scene. I'm
Yeah,
looking at you, reverse sweep pod.
yeah, like three of the
But
four of them.
yeah, but geez, man, subliners are looking on the hot side, and Thieves 0-5. They look like they're like, you know, they literally don't know how to play search and destroy. Like I mean, honestly, they look worse than some like amateur, like league play players that I have seen. Um, or sorry, ranked play players that I've seen. I'm still stuck in Cold War, sorry. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I was watching some of the Thieves matches from this past weekend. Man, they they just look like they don't know how to play right now, or like they lost something fundamental, and they're just like kind of down on themselves. And Envoy is the only one that's looking like he has like any clue of what to do on the map. Um, but yeah, so obviously my rant, I won't go too much longer, but man, you just got you probably have to go subliners here, right? Like I would say probably Thieves maybe take one map at best right now with how subliners is looking. Uh,
Yeah,
but I don't, unless Thieves show up and just have like a complete like resurgence in their confidence or something, and they like finally wake up and realize that they aren't, they're four nasty players in their own right, but they're just kind of like, you know they kind of forgot how to play for a couple
yeah,
weeks. And maybe there's a world where Thieves turn up and do something, and maybe stave off a roster move that we know JCap probably is salivating
hmm
over, given his Cold War track record. But I mean, my confidence in subliners here is probably at like an 80-20
yeah.
for subliners. So I would say my best prediction would be a 3-1 to subliners here.
I would say I think it's wild that like you can make an argument subliners are like probably. I mean, you can't really make the argument that they're the hottest team because OpTic is literally on two match wins away from having the longest streak of wins in CDL history. So like they're not the hottest team, but like you can make an argument that subliners are like one of, if not like the second hottest team in the league right now since they made that roster change. Like they've been rolling 3 matches in a row. So you would think, wow, one of the hottest teams in the league playing against an 0-5 team, like you'd think that your confidence would be like 99%. Like 80-20 almost seems low, but that like speaks to how talented this Thieves roster is on paper. Like we know Envoy is a disgusting player. We know Kenny is disgusting. Draza has a ton of talent. Octane at times has been the best AR in the league. Like this team has all the talent in the world. It's just like not getting put together on paper. Uh, I wonder what it would actually take in this major for them to actually like save the roster. I would think they'd have to make a run to Sunday, like a crazy losers bracket run to Sunday. I don't think that's going to happen, but like it's pretty hard to just like if they win 2 matches here and bow out in like top 6, it's pretty hard to say like top 6 saves the roster when they go 0-5 in qualifiers. Like if they were like 2-3 in qualifiers and that happened, like yeah, maybe you can hold it off, maybe roll swap. But like the only way they don't make a roster change is if they decide to try the Draza Kenny roll swap, which I think should have already been a thing since day one of the game. Kenny should have always been running a sub along with Envoy, and Draza should have always been the flex because I will refuse to ever say that Kenny's natural position is a flex. It always has been a sub since he broke onto the scene and was far and away the best sub in World War II. So this team is a mess. They are going to lose this match. I'm picking NYSL to win this. I'd probably agree in like a 3-1, but at the same time, if subliners win the opening hardpoint, it's probably going to be a 3-0 because, like you said, Thieves are so lost in Search and Destroy. Granted, subliners aren't really looking the best in Search and Destroy. It's hard to pick Thieves to beat anybody in that game mode, and then Control kind of be a toss-up, but you can't even really look at map data for subliners because of just like you have to look at really their last 3 matches. Like their records and everything are just so terrible. But like when you look at the Thieves map data, they're 22-10 in hardpoint, Kyle. Like that's an insane record. Like they're a 2-to-1 win-loss ratio in their hardpoints. Like you'd think that they'd be like dominating and winning series through that, but that just speaks volumes to how bad their Search and Destroy and honestly Control have been. They're 7-10 in Control as well. But like normally this would have been the perfect matchup if subliners had that same roster because they're so bad at hardpoint. Thieves are like the hardpoint juggernaut. Uh, and then, they're kind of both bad in Search and Destroy, and then Control is the toss-up mode. But, I mean, man, I guess that's the only way I could see Thieves making this run is if subliners hardpoint collapses and reverts back to where they are and Thieves come out strong. But I don't see that happening. So I got subliners probably in a 3-1 fashion just because I respect the players on Thieves too much to even say they're going to get 3-0'd, but they very easily could.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I mean, it's tough though. What do you think about subliners change though with Neptune? I mean, this is probably the last we're going to talk about them for the episode since we're going to jump to the finals, and I'm assuming neither of us are going to have them in the finals, but you never know. What do you think about their roster? Like, is Neptune here to stay? I guess if they get double first rounded or something in this major, maybe he goes. But Neptune was frying. I mean, again today versus Toronto, he dropped a 1.14. That's 2 good series. These past 2, I think he's really had 3 good series since Paul X has been subbed in. You think he's here to stay? He'll stick it out through this major and into stage 3?
Dude, that opening stage that he had when he was like 17-2 or some crap like that.
And today he got a 3-piece for the win on Gavutu
Yeah.
hardpoint.
Yeah, dude, I mean, he was looking good. Maybe the time off gave him time to kind of get his mind right or like deflate his ego a little bit or something. I don't know. But it seems like the team is gelling a lot better. Crim 6 seems to be a lot happier now. Um, in typical fashion, there was kind of kind of some like subtle Twitter beef between Clay and Crim again.
Yeah, they're going at each other.
But Crim's like, man, my team is trying again, or he's saying like it looks like he's happy now. Neptune is putting up really good numbers. I think he was like player of the match or something in one of their series this weekend. But yeah, I mean, unless they look horrendous and get like 3-0-3 to 0-3 or something, I would say that they're probably gonna ride out with Neptune again.
Yeah, it's hard to switch off of a guy when you've seen your first success all year with him.
Yeah, exactly. And as I think I was saying last week too, like at some point you just have to kind of like batten down the hatches and say like, okay, we're gonna ride with this team for a little bit. Um, because you would think that if they were gonna make more changes, they probably would have just bit the bullet and done it. That when they brought in Paul. But yeah, I don't know. I would say my confidence in Neptune staying is like pretty solid. I would say it would take a lot for me to say that he should leave after this major.
Yeah, I think it'll take like a double 3-0 team chemistry blow up at the major in order for him to actually not be at least trialed out for a couple matches in major 3. Like, obviously, if they win against Faze and make a nice run, finish like top 4, nothing's happening. But like, if they bow out in the second round of the elimination bracket, like they finish like a top 8, I would say then you get to the situation where like maybe they consider it because they were already trying to get his replacement before, but then they were like kind of forced to play with him, and they're like, wait a minute, this is working. Before we move on to the next match, though, the one thing I want to say about subliners, I mean, everybody's going to give the credit to Paul X because, like, obviously he comes in, they get better. That's not just like a coincidence. That's because he's a very good player. But I mean, not only is it the fact that he just comes in and he just fits the team better, I think it really is the pacing. That's a lot of people have been talking about, and I fully agree. Like, Paul is like the perfect flex that's why he was so good with London when he subbed in and was able to beat some solid teams and go 2-0 that week. Is because he just like almost molds himself to whatever a team needs. Like the first match we saw him play with subliners, he just like basically super soaked hill time, got like 3 minutes on the hill and the hard point, just like filled in the gaps where needed. And he's got guys like Hydra and Neptune that sometimes like to just hit the go button and don't stop running. And he can pull out a sub on Bocage and just go with them and like match their pace. And then if it's on a map like Kavutu where he's got to pull out the AR, slow down with Crim, and then have Hydra or Neptune pull out the second AR or third AR, excuse me, and slow it down. Like Paul can perfectly slow it down and do it that way. Like he is like the perfect gap filler, which is what you usually want for your flex player. He can speed it up, slow down, and just like he's so perfect at matching the pace, so he makes a transition seem just like seamless, I guess. And I really just like the way he fits in this team, and I'm looking forward to how they can grow. They're like really the team I'm most excited to watch on LAN because of how much growing I think they could do. It's just so unfortunate the draw that they got with Faze in that first round, but that's enough subliners talk. We obviously just this is the first time we've been able to talk about them all year because they actually are doing something. But shout out to Paul because he seems to be a player that I think has a long future in the CDL because of how adaptable he is to whatever team he's on. I think you could throw him on almost any team and he could find a way to fit in and not make them lose too much of a step. Obviously, you don't want to throw him in for guys like a Cellium or an Illy who are just fine in their team, but like if he was to sub in a pinch, I feel like he's one of the most adaptable players. So shout out Paul X, but we can move on to the bottom half if you want.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We got 2 matches left. Florida versus Paris. Wow. Kind of a weird matchup here. Paris, they're looking a little bit better. They won the last match we saw. They've been really competitive in the qualifiers. They got reverse swept twice. I believe they got 3-0'd once in there as well. But like overall, they've looked a lot more competitive. Things kind of seem to be coming around. Then all of a sudden, like Jimbo's coming around. Then he has a terrible double neg map. Then he comes around again. They win a series. Like he's extremely, extremely streaky, but they've looked better and more competitive in this stage overall with a lot of map fives. And then you've got the team in Florida who is the biggest question mark in the CDL. Feels like since Modern Warfare, besides their little run there where they won a few events, a few home series in a row, they seem to be the hardest team ever to predict because sometimes they will 3-0 Faze and then other times they'll get 3-0'd by teams like Paris. So what are you thinking here? You think Paris can pull out some magic like they did in Major 1 and win their first match in losers?
This one's hard for me to predict. Is it really like two teams that are kind of like, iffy in my eyes to say like, oh, okay, like I think this team will show up and do it, but I don't know. I'm almost leaning Legion in like a scrappy 3-2 or something.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I do want to give Florida respect. Uh they do have potential to win this. Maybe in a 3-0, who knows? Because they tend to not like to play a lot of maps. Um uh
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll hear your position on this and then make a decision. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me right now.
I mean, yeah, because it feels like they're definitely going to play Bocage because Paris likes to play that map, and we obviously know Florida does. And I feel like I give Florida the advantage on that one. And then a higher seed here would be Florida, so they're going to get to pick the control. And I would assume that they're going to pick Tuscan, which favors them, obviously, because they are so good at Tuscan and they struggle on Gavutu. But I know Paris likes to play Tuscan Control as well. I mean, they are 1-6 on Tuscan Control, but like they always seem to prefer it and like extend the map. And I think, despite the fact that they have a better record on Gavutu, it feels like they like to play Tuscan more. They play it so much more. I mean, they've played it. I guess they've played it 7 times and they played Gavutu 6, but I don't know. It just seems like whenever I watch a Paris match, they're always on Tuscan, and I think they've like said that they prefer it. Especially since they've gotten Jimbo, they've like been on that map a ton. So I feel like this series is gonna lean towards maps that Florida favors. Like I'm pretty sure they're gonna play Tuscan Control. Pretty sure they're gonna play Bocage Hardpoint, which are 2 maps Florida really likes. They're probably also going to play Berlin Search and Destroy because that's the map that Paris has played the most, and that's the map that Florida can actually win. They're 5-1. Florida hasn't won a Desert Siege or Bocage Hardpoint or Search and Destroy, excuse me, this entire year. They've only won Tuscan and Berlin Search. And I think they're probably going to end up playing both because Paris always plays Tuscan Search. So like this feels like all the maps are going to lean towards Florida, which is why I'm going to go with Florida. I'd say in a 3-1. I don't know. Actually, I might go a map 5 for this one, even though Florida never seems to get in one because Paris is the map 5 team. They forced a ton of them in this last stage. I feel like this is going to go 5 maps, but I just lean Florida just because looking at their map history and the maps they've played, feels like they're going to square up on like all of Florida's best maps. I think we're going to see probably Bocage and Berlin, or Bocage and Tuscan for hard points. Feel like we're going to see Berlin and Tuscan for searches, and then probably Tuscan Control, which are all maps that Florida really, really likes. So I go Florida 3-2, but man, this is a tough one.
Right. After getting my education from you, thank you, kind professor of the maps and stuff. I'm gonna lean Florida just based on that information. Um, I think I might go bold and say 3-0. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't
this
know.
the thing is a 3-2 and a 3-0 sound just as good to me. Like
Yeah,
that's how
I'll go.
unpredictable this series is.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say 3-0, I guess.
I mean, I'm gonna be at the venue cheering for Paris. I promise you that.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
you're gonna be wearing your Donnie Temp jersey.
yeah, I mean, unless they're playing London, that'll make me kind of sad if London loses to Florida in winners and we see them playing, because then I'm kind of gonna have to cheer for London because I do think they'll make the tournament more exciting as we go along. But I mean, I just really want to see Paris win because I think the venue will be electric. Because that'll probably be like a late night losers match, and the venue might be clearing out. But like me and my buddy that I'm going with is like a huge Temp fan. Although he like his least favorite player in the CDL is John, so that's kind of a challenging thing for him. But he's a huge Temp fan, so he's probably gonna be going crazy for Paris. Uh, I think the venue's probably gonna be electric for Paris because they just always are. They always want to see the so-called like last place team take somebody out. So I kind of think it'll be electric. I'm gonna be there cheering for Paris, but I don't think they're gonna win it. Uh, Last match though of the first round, we got LAG dropping down to play Ultra. Another wild match because this is gonna be a team that gets first rounded here that we have high hopes for. I mean, I think both of us, Ultra are really struggling right now, especially in hardpoint. That's been well documented since Major One, and they went 0-8 there in hardpoint. But they're really struggling in that mode. They've only been able to win through 2-3-5 recently. And then we've got LAG, who looked pretty good overall on the stage. They were 3-1 with their actual roster, and then obviously Gunless can't play in that final match against OpTic. They lose. Probably were going to lose to OpTic anyways, but they were 3-1 with their actual roster. They looked to be constantly improving. They're a team that both of us have said we always feel that they're like a dark horse to potentially make a deep run and make a top 3 finish at an event. I think we both would say that Ultra, with this roster, we know they're capable of making that run to Sunday. They did it at the last major, but man, one of these teams that gets eliminated is going to have to evaluate their roster because if it's LAG and they get eliminated top 12, that's 2 majors where they finish without winning a match. Like something has to be potentially looked at in terms of a change. And for Ultra, it sounds weird to say they potentially would have to look at a change, but that would be a top 12 finish. You didn't win a single hardpoint at the last major. You start in losers here. You're the 11th or 12th seed at this major. You've been really struggling. Your hardpoint hasn't improved. The team doesn't really look to be improving. They actually kind of look to be regressing. Kind of wild to think that that could happen, but loser of this match going to be thinking about roster changes. Who you got?
And this is like it almost feels like disrespect if you pick against one of these teams.
Yeah, because
Um,
they're both better than top 12, it
yeah,
feels like.
exactly. I just I think Ultra are really, like you said, they are struggling a lot.
And I mean, like, I guess half their team has had COVID this in like last 2
Uh,
weeks, and they felt bad. So like, there are some kind of like outside circumstances affecting them, but still, like, it's been since
sure.
Major One that they've looked this bad in
Yeah,
hardpoint, at
so
least.
I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards LAG, maybe just for
Okay.
the fact that I don't want to see them break up yet. Um, but the time is kind of running out for them. Uh, and at the same time, I think that Toronto would be able to weather a top 12 finish more than LAG could.
Yeah.
So, but and Ultra, are, they are having their woes in hardpoint. So I'm gonna it kind of dirty to do it, but I feel like I'm gonna have Ultra bow out here. In a
Yeah.
3-1. In a 3-1.
I mean, I don't. I was gonna say LAG 3-1 as well, because once again, feels like if we get to LAN and it gets to a map 5, regardless of what they're looking like, it's just gonna always be hard for me to pick against this specific Ultra roster, uh, in a map 5, because like, especially like last tournament, in Major 1, how many map 5s did they win? It had to be at least 2, 3, of their series came down to a map 5 because, well, actually, we know it did. Every series they won had to
Yeah,
be a map 5 because they didn't win
yeah,
the hard point. What am I thinking?
exactly, yeah.
Uh, and they played what? They played 8 hard points, so that means they played 4 matches. So yeah, they won 3 map 5s at Major 1. Uh, like we know it's hard to pick against them, even in a major where they literally couldn't win a hard point at all. They were still winning map 5 every time until they uh, met up and eventually lost one. So like kind of hard to pick against them in a map 5, which is why I'll lean 3-1. But I'd agree. I feel like if they were to finish top 12, Ultra might be able to weather the storm, might be able to iron some things out and keep the team together, potentially not make a roster change for a little bit. But I feel like if LAG were to finish top 12, the roster would probably have to make a change. Because back to back top 12 finishes when you get to land if you crumble. And this seems like a team that isn't as tight knit, I guess. I do actually feel like overall, like they're pretty tight knit because, like, typically I think teams with Slasher and Gunless would have blown up by now if they would have had the struggles this team has had, and the way that Hook's teams kind of blew up last year and stuff. Uh, Even Asim's team had some chemistry issues on New York. So like all these guys are coming from situations where they were dropped because of like team chemistry maybe blowing up. So you would think that like by this point they would have broken up if not, but we know how tight that Ultra team is. Like in terms of teamwork and camaraderie, like they might arguably be like the tightest team in the CDL. They're one of the few teams that stuck from last year. So like I don't know. I guess I would think that whoever loses will be considering roster changes. I think it's more likely LAG makes a change, but I'm gonna be sad at the event if this is actually the match and we do have um, Ultra and LAG playing because they're two teams that I want to see play multiple matches because I'm entertained by both them. But I'll agree and go LAG 3-1. So I think Kyle, you and I are pretty darn in sync here on our picks for this round one. I think the only one we differed on is I picked your rocker and you didn't in that losers round one match.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that was our only like I said, our only difference, so pretty in
I think,
sync, at least in round 1 here.
yeah. I mean, I think what we want to do from here is just jump in, say maybe who we have our top 3 teams, like who we think is going to be those final 3 playing in elimination finals, and then on the winner side of things, and then pick our winner. Because, like I said, bracket's not out. We're on a time crunch this week. Not going to have time to record tomorrow and like get everything out in time. And there's no interactive bracket on the CDL site yet. So, you want me to go first and say who I think is going to end up being in the top 3, or you want to go ahead and go first?
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right. So obviously, Faze and OpTic would probably be everybody's hot pick for winners final, but that can't happen this major again. They're going to play in round 2 as long as they both win, which I'm picking them to do so. I'm going to have OpTic coming out of the winner's side again. Uh, I think they're actually going to potentially face the exact same route too. I think they might beat Surge, Faze, and Ravens to get there. I think OpTic's going to be coming out of the winner's side. It's just like we've been saying for how long. It's just hard to pick against OpTic right now. Like they look invincible, like we've documented on here already. They're en route to winning 2 matches, makes them have the longest win streak in CDL history since franchising happened. So like that's wild. They're like one of the hottest teams ever in terms of the CDL era. So it's hard to pick against them. I'm picking them to come out of winners. I actually think I'm going to go a little bit bold here, though. Uh, I think there's a world where we see subliners and Faze, one of those teams, be in the elimination final. The thing is, I don't think they both can be because they play in the first round. I think they would meet up, especially since I have OpTic knocking Faze down. I'm pretty sure they would meet up in the losers semis. I don't think be top 3. So I'm going to say kind of a hot take here. I think subliners are going to bow out in 4th. I think they're actually going to lose that first match and make a little bit of a run, taking out like Rocker and then probably Breach potentially. I feel like we're going to see NYSL make a little run. I think we're probably going to see London Faze OpTic in the top 3 again if I had to make a bet. Repeat. I think we're going to see a Faze OpTic rematch in the finals as well. And I think I'm leaning OpTic again. It's just like I said, it's so hard to pick against them. I actually kind of came into Sunday thinking, like, meaning this Sunday in the week 3 matches, saying whoever wins this OpTic Phase series is probably who I'm going to pick to win the major because I think they're going to carry the momentum. And then, of course, Simp is sick. He can't play. OpTic wins 3-0, and I'm like, well, I can't use this to influence my decision because we literally had Pristini coming in who said he hadn't even like been playing the game much. He just was playing ranked play. Hadn't even been playing challengers all year. And I mean, the dude actually had the most kills on his team today and dropped like a 0.9, which is pretty impressive. But like, I came in today saying whoever wins between OpTic and Faze is who I'm picking to win the major. I guess technically OpTic did win, and I mean, you can't really like count it as much because Simp didn't play, like I said. But I'm leaning OpTic. I feel like we're going to see another grand finals. I think this one's going to go a little longer, though. I don't think it's going to be a 5-2. I lean like a 5-3, 5-4 OpTic in the finals over Faze.
Ooh, nice. I like
What are you
that.
thinking?
Yes, I definitely have OpTic in winners finals. I I definitely like, and obviously from our round one picks, Ravens and Breach meet in round two. Um, I really want to ride Breach here.
I hope you do because I kind of like it. I kind of think it's a decent dark horse pick.
But yeah, I mean, so I'll go ahead and for that sake, I'll pick phased or sorry, OpTic to meet Breach in winners final, and then obviously
Okay.
I can't pick against OpTic here. So OpTic into the grand final. Uh, then I'll go down and have um I'll have London make the run through the lower side of the bracket. Because I think they'll easily dispatch of Legion and like an LG or somebody that comes out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I definitely have a lot of confidence in London. It seems like Gizmo kind of has his stuff was able to sort it out back home and stuff. He seems in a lot better headspace.
Yeah.
I I have a lot of confidence in Ravens here to make a losers run, and I do think I love the narrative of NYSL making a run to Saturday here. So I will uh I'll have NYSL finish like a T6. And then I'll have, if it's possible, I'll have Faze with London in
I
the
believe that should be possible.
Faze with London in the winners final. Or sorry, in losers final.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be my top three right there.
Okay.
Would be OpTic.
I actually I don't know
Oh
if
wait,
that's
no.
possible
No,
because
no,
you
because
have Breach
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
exactly. So I would have Breach probably uh I would probably have them finish top four, and then uh
Have
and
London
then
finish top 3, lose to Faze,
top
or have London beat Faze in losers final?
I would probably have Faze go to the grand final again. So London 3, Phase 2, and OpTic would win. Uh,
Okay.
OpTic would win Major 2. Um, I think OpTic just have too many questions that they would ask of Phase, and I don't think Phase have all the answers yet. Um,
Yeah, and the difference is the controls, it feels like.
yeah, it is. I mean, OpTic is like one of the best control teams I've ever seen.
14 and
Um,
1.
yeah, and obviously they get the advantage of picking which one they don't want to play. um,
Yeah.
out of the
No,
three.
they had to play both actually in the
Oh
best
yeah,
of 9 because
because
there's so little
there's
maps.
only two maps, right? I forgot. um,
Mhm.
but yeah. So anyway, what they get to veto the one hardpoint map. That's it, or
Yeah,
one
which I'm
search.
assuming they'd probably be Bocage again, or
Mhm.
Berlin because they really are pretty bad at Berlin. But I think FaZe are
Yeah,
pretty bad at Berlin as well, if I remember correctly. So like, and FaZe are so good at Bocage, and honestly, like that's like the one map FaZe is probably the clear favorite on,
yeah,
because they're undefeated on it.
yeah. I
Yeah, they're
would
8
say
0.
yeah. So I'll say that we have OpTic win, Phase finish runner up again, and London finish top three, Breach top four. So
Okay.
Breach would be playing on Sunday. And then Subliners unfortunately fall short at a top six finish. Would be my prediction.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
know
so
that was a little bit more than we asked for, but kind of important to give that nuance. Kind of given that Subliners are on a little bit of a hot tear right now.
well, yeah, and we have the same top 3. I always like there's sometimes when I feel confident, and this is a time where I don't. I like for some reason when I'm staring at this bracket, that Breach Gorillas match is staring me in the face, and I just like feel like the winner of that has a pretty good chance to like make an upset to the winners finals. Because I'm sorry to the London fans out there. I know that means that London would lose in the second round, but like we almost never see a repeat of a major. Like if London and OpTic play in the winners finals, and then OpTic and Faze play in the grand finals, and London and Faze play in the losers finals, like tournaments almost never go that way. They don't just repeat themselves like ever. Like I wouldn't be shocked if we see like a Faze beat OpTic in round 2 or something, and OpTic's down there in the losers bracket like we don't expect. And then we've got like OpTic versus a London down somewhere in there in like the Elim finals or something like that. Like, I don't know. For some reason, that Breach Gorillas match is staring me at the face. I feel like the winner of that has a pretty good chance to make a run to the winners final. Like you mentioned, you wanted to pick Boston to get there. I want to pick whoever wins that. I do think that's the most toss up series of that first round. So I don't know. I would say we're agreeing, but I feel less confident this time uh, than maybe I should, just because I do feel like uh, it's such a weird major with the way we've seen teams look. Like Faze have looked shakier than normal because we didn't get to see Simp play in the last match, and they lost to Surge, and like I don't know, they just haven't seemed as strong. But I will agree, I lean OpTic mostly because of the control, because of how dominant they've looked. Like I would expect them to win both controls, and then if they just are spotted basically a 2-0 advantage by the controls and only have to find a way to win 3 other maps, with how good we've seen them look in Search at times and how good in Hardpoint, I just find it hard to believe that if you're giving OpTic both controls, it's pretty tough to imagine a world uh, where Faze is able to go 5-2 against them on the other maps because of how good OpTic has looked. I think maybe the last thing we'd have to do on this pod would be offer some bold predictions for the major. I guess first, who do you have winning MVP? We both pick OpTic to win. Uh, who do you have winning MVP? Last time it was Dashy. You think he repeats? You think somebody else gets it?
Mm, I mean, the MVP kind of has to come from the winning team, right? So one of the
Yeah, I feel like
four
you have to pick from OpTic if we're
one
picking
of
who
the
to
four
win.
OpTic guys. So we both have them winning Major 2. I'll go ahead and say that Shotzzy gets it.
It's hard to pick because like most teams, you got like the 1 or 2 guys who can win MVP, and it's like uh OpTic are kind of in that phase boat where all 4 could win MVP. But like I feel like if a team like I don't know, I feel like if a team like Breach were to win the event or something, like it's hard to imagine a world where like TJ wins MVP because he's more of like a role player, or even Nero. He pops off at times, but he's more of like a gap filler. Feels like Capsule would have to be like popping off for Breach to win, so like he'd be a clear MVP. Or like if a team like Subliners were to win, yes, like the other 3 players are good, but if they're able to win this event, it would probably be Hydra like popping off. Whereas on OpTic, all 4 players like take their turns, just like Faze always at their peak. All 4 players take their turns being the superstar, and like Scump has been absolutely frying. He'd probably be honestly the player you'd pick to be least likely to win MVP on that team, I would say, because of like Shotzzy and Dashy are normally the guys putting up the huge gaudy KD numbers. And then like Illy and Scump are more of your gap fillers for the team, but Scump's been frying, so maybe he's a dark horse to win it. But I'm gonna say Illy. Uh, Illy wins MVP. I think that's the less common take. I feel like Shotzzy and Dashy are definitely the favorites, but I feel like he's gonna get some love like he did last tournament. I feel like he's gonna put up big search and destroy numbers this tournament, and then be steady enough and respawn that like he's gonna drop like a crazy search. I'm gonna predict like a 1.45 search KD for Illy, and then like a solid enough like around 1.0 to 1.1 respawn KD, and he'll win MVP through that. I feel like it's kind of a bold take because he's probably third or least likely on that team to win MVP.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also become one of my favorite players in the CDL because I just love the way he plays the game. So maybe that's a little bias coming out of me. But other thing I want to do, dark horse team to make a run in winners bracket. I feel like I would normally say we have to pick one of the lower seeds, but Faze is one of the lower seeds, so I don't think they count as a dark horse team to make a run. I think Subliners actually do because of the fact that they play Faze first round, even though they're the higher seed. So I'd say like between Surge, Subliners, Gorillas, Mutineers. We're gonna count Subliners as the lower series because I just don't want to count Faze in that group. Uh, who do you think is like your winners bracket team you could see sneaking into winners finals? Because obviously between Surge, Subliners, Mutineers, Gorillas, we have them all getting first rounded. Which one of those teams do you think could flip the script on what we said and make a run, maybe to winners finals or further?
I would say
It's tough because I feel
Probably
like there's a couple. I feel like there's 2 in my mind.
probably gorillas.
I think that's where I'd lean as well. I just think their path is easier. It's just
Mhm.
like with subliners, I really think they have the potential, but like that means they beat Faze and OpTic. Well, I just it's hard to imagine that happening. But with Gorillas, like beating Breach have looked very good, but they seem more beatable than Faze in a first round matchup. Uh, and then I feel like Ravens or Mutineers in the second round is once again easier than OpTic. So I kind of lean Gorillas as well. Uh, but like both those teams are my dark horse, like Breach, Gorillas, and that bottom half of that bracket. Some team in there is my dark horse to potentially make it to the grand finals out of the winner side because I don't think anybody's picking uh, anybody but OpTic and Faze to come out of the winner's side. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Then on the loser side, who you got between our 4 teams starting in losers? Rocker, Thieves, Legion, Ultra. What team do you see in there? I don't know if you have any of them because I don't think you're too high on Rocker or Legion or Thieves. So not saying like one of these teams is going to make a run to top 3, but like if you were to say one of these teams is going to maybe make a run to top 4, maybe they'll make it to Sunday. I don't think any of them are personally going to make it there, but what team would you have to maybe make that top 6 or top 4 run?
I would say Thieves if they figure out how to do something other than lose. Um, but it's hard to have faith in Rocker just because they haven't shown it at all in this title yet.
Hmm.
Um, but Thieves, we've seen them in Major One in the qualifiers. They played, to a 4-1 record, and then they got upended in the first round in winners. Um, and then they kind of just uh, piddled on to a Saturday finish, top 6. Um, but I don't know. I feel like this team, like you said, is so good on paper. Um, that they would probably be my pick right now, even though they went 0-5. I know that's kind of like ludicrous to say. Um, it's either that or if Rocker somehow ride the home crowd wave. Like I think we both want them to a little bit here. Um, and they would probably be in all likelihood be playing the loser of that Texas, or they would probably be playing that Seattle team that would probably lose in round 1. Which isn't the most crazy thing to ask them uh, to win the match against Seattle. Like I think I was deliberating over it for a while, and then they
Hmm.
would go on to play probably
Probably subliners.
subliners or thieves. So we'd say subliners, and that's not the most crazy match for them to win either. And then all of a sudden they find themselves in the losers quarters. Uh,
Hmm.
so I don't know. Maybe I'm talking myself into Rocker here.
Yeah, I
Uh,
I don't
I'll
know
I'll
when
go
I.
ahead I'll go ahead and lock in Rocker, I guess, just because they're my team. Uh,
I
and
hope that's
until I say
correct.
otherwise, yeah. So it's hard to it's hard to say that about a team that went 0-5, to be honest. Um, yeah, I'll go ahead and
Yeah,
say Rocker.
it feels like you would want to pick a team in that bottom half. And it's hard to say Legion are going to make a run much past maybe winning a match. So like it almost feels like Ultra because we know what this team can do and how clutch they are. Feels like almost Ultra is smart to say, but I really don't like them playing Boston or Gorillas. I really don't like that matchup for them. However, if they're able to get past that match, then they play like probably the winner of like Florida versus Legion, which seems like a very winnable match that I'd favor them against both teams. But then they'd play the loser of most likely OpTic versus Faze, and I think that they'd probably bow out there and finish top 6. So I could definitely see a path uh, where Ultra is able to win and then play Legion or Florida. I could see a path where Ultra find a way to get to top 6. Legion can't really see it. Like you said, Thieves, the fact that they play Subliners or Faze, who are 2 teams that I'm pretty high on right now, makes me not want to pick them. Uh, but I kind of don't mind the Minnesota pick either. I just really think that subliners are going to make that run because I think they're going to take out Thieves, and then I think they'll probably beat Rocker, and then from there they get to play probably the loser of like a Ravens Breach match, where if I think that that's a winnable match for them, so I can really see subliners making that run to top 4, but they're not in the losers bracket, so it doesn't count. Uh, but who else has that same run would be Thieves or Rocker. So I kind of want to agree with you and go Rocker, but it sounds absurd because the team that I would say I have the most confidence in of these 4. Like, if you were to be blind and, like, somebody has the gun to your head, which team are you the most confident in these 4 teams, and you can't see the matchups, I'd probably say Ultra, right?
Mhm.
Because I think that they're probably still the best team, and, like, if I was to say, like, "Hey, put this team, on a match against anyone on land right now to win for you for your life," I'm still taking Ultra because I feel like they're the most icy, and, like, if they can force them at 5, I feel like they're gonna win it. Uh But I just hate their first round matchup of all the teams. I hate it the most because I think the other teams are going to end up playing Seattle, New York, and Florida, which are teams that I think are still shaky, even though New York's looked good. But man, Boston and LAG are both scary to me. So I don't like Ultra's matchup. So I kind of want to go Rocker as well because I can see a world where they take out Seattle. And then if they're able to take out New York, they'd probably play like Gorillas or Breach. And I could also see them taking that out and potentially finding a way to ride the momentum. But I'll go with Rocker as well, but I don't really feel confident. I actually think this might be a situation where we see all 4 teams and losers actually lose in the first round. All right.
Yeah.
You got anything else to go over with this major, or are you ready to wrap it up? A little bit of a shorter episode today, potentially?
Yeah, I'm just yeah, like I said, I'm ready to, get back into watching some LAN matches again. I think this is gonna be a really well put on major. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Um
Yeah, you sent me that tweet about the rumor of the ballroom.
oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Exactly. So maybe we get some players standing up and screaming that they're eating people alive and
nameless.
exactly.
Hey, I'm excited for that Challengers land though too. I'm wondering how, because like I guess it's not confirmed or like at all like what kind of like the stage, the venue at all is gonna look like, but it's at Mystic Lake and like there's the rumors that it's in like one of those giant ballrooms there because there's like some concert going on in like the theater type room they have. Uh so like I guess it might be in like a giant ballroom. I wonder if there's gonna be 2 separate rooms, like one for challengers, if they're all gonna be packed into the same room. So I'm honestly super excited for that. Like to go walk over. Like there's rumors that like Clay might show up, and like Saints just tweeted like the Batman gif of like the bat signal in the sky. Uh like there's rumors that like Clay and like Pristini and Saints and like Fellow are just gonna like team up and just like go screw around in challengers. So like if I get to walk over and see like Doug playing against Clay and challengers, I'm gonna be hyped. I might actually like just like leave the CDL match to go watch that, but I think it'll be pretty fun to go walk around. I mean, me and a couple of my boys, every COD event I've gone to has been with my college roommate. Uh, but this time he's unable to make it, unfortunately. But like my 2 like childhood best friends that I kind of grew up playing COD with really wanted to go and they're free. So like that's gonna be super fun. And we're gonna be at the casino, maybe doing some gambling some nights. So that should be fun. I'm super excited for the event. Super excited for the challengers portion as well. And hopefully we have good matches. I feel like we're poised to. I'm a little sad Rocker and losers. I'm going to be honest with you. They're not really like the team that I'd probably cheer for the most, but like I think it's going to be more fun in the matches they're playing because there's probably going to be a lot of Minnesota fans there. I don't want them to get first rounded, but I'm just excited for the event overall. Like you said, I think we can wrap this one up though if you're ready.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to do it for this one. A little bit shorter than normal. Like I said, we're in a time crunch. So sorry to you folks on YouTube if you're a little disappointed we didn't have the interactive bracket on this one, but just a super kind of tight week with timing. Like I said, with heading to the major, we don't have nearly as many days. Normally, we'd be recording on a Monday night. Bracket would be up. We'd have a little more time, but in typical CDL fashion, it's hours after the bracket's been released and the pickums aren't up. So we can't exactly have that, but this episode will probably be going up on Monday nights. If you're listening to it right now or watching on YouTube right now, it'll likely be up on Monday night a day early because of that time crunch. I'm headed out early Wednesday morning, driving on over to Minnesota. Excited for that. Uh, so we'll probably be recording the podcast like usual on Monday night next week with our reactions. That's going to do it for this one, though. If you guys are on YouTube and you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on the audio platforms, we'd appreciate if you drop a follow on there. If you're able, drop a review, drop a 5-star review, leave us a little comment. But that's going to do it for this one. We really appreciate you guys watching, and I look forward to going to this major and then look forward to talking about it when we get back. So we will see you in the next one. Hope you guys enjoy the major.